When you introduced your free returns incentives, how did it affect sales and how did it affect returns?
The problem with free returns is that everybody expects them, and we still use it as a tactical device, and it does work very well in terms of uplifting sales. I mean, Rob, you probably a better place to answer this one, but it does help. But we are in a position now where it's kind of in the price, and that's quite scary, because the moment you start, people start expecting free returns and they expect discounts, and you can end up giving a lot of margin away. There's no easy answer. Whenever we do free returns, we always test it against other offers. So there'll be, the database is broken down into hundreds of different cells, and one cell will get 10% off from free P&P, another cell will get 15% off, and you're always testing it. It's a never-ending nightmare of testing, but I'm told you have to do it. Rob, do you want to answer that question?
It's very important for acquisition, especially, because it shows the confidence in your product. If you're not willing to offer a very easy way of sending something back if you don't like it, in my opinion, that doesn't have a good intro message for a new customer to know that there is no hassle in sending it back if you don't like it. We're absolutely confident in what we sell, so for us that's an easy move. Actually,
I get upset about increased returns, and the marketing director says, oh, it's great, because it's encouraging speculative buying, and you're going to have these problems. You have people who take the mickey, and there's some extraordinary stories of customers who sort of collect loads of little, and they start selling them on eBay, all the offers, and we have to ring them up and give them a talking to. But it's on the whole a necessary evil.
Ian Morrison from Donald Russell. It's about customer acquisition. Customer lifetime values, and therefore how much money you can spend in acquiring a customer. Did you get that right away at the beginning of the business? Was there an epiphany moment, or did you need to be convinced by somebody in the marketing team at some point?
We've never actually, I'm embarrassed to admit, customer lifetime value is not something that we look at with any great frequency.
Paul Bacon from Fashion Union. It's very interesting to hear that you're now delivering 80% of your sales through the web. Yeah. I think we all recognise, obviously, the expense of paper, and I don't know whether you look at somebody like ASOS accounts, but they're very informative in the fact that we can see that they spend about 5% of their sales on marketing. Have you identified any kind of e-commerce strategy that has enabled you to put down on paper in any way?
We do quite a lot of, I'm sorry, out of my depth again, but there's no golden bullet. I think, as I said earlier, and as Rob said, it's a little bit of everything. Rob, do you want to take this one again? Can you shed any light on it?
Johnny's already said that things working together is the trick. It's a big jigsaw. We know, for example, that around 35% of our paid search traffic comes from the catalogue. Because of the way we've got a number of different ways of tracking things. You've got web metrics, you've got what we call key codes, which is basically the offer code that we were talking about earlier on. Another one of the benefits for doing codes is that obviously everybody wants to use one because they want the discount, therefore it's very easy to tie a sale back to the source and where it came from. So although somebody comes in as far as the web metrics tool is concerned as a paid search customer, we can actually tell at the end of it through the code that was entered into the e-commerce process that actually that was a catalogue that drove that sale. In terms of knowing exactly what percentage of online sales comes from the catalogue, again, I would be making it up if I was to give you a percentage. However, we are pretty confident that the number is somewhere around 60-70% of all of our sales, all the online sales, the 80% total, still come from the catalogue. It still plays a massive part. We're doing an interesting bit of work at the moment with our prospect pool where we have a mailing file of people that we mine, data mine. And although we sometimes people are catalogue, we can actually match back, and of all the people that have bought from the original mailing file, we can actually tell what their last touch point was. And using another clever bit of software called Tagman, and there's anyone from Tagman in the room, but we can also work back and see what the other online touch points were before the last one. So we can piece together a really nice customer journey, knowing full well that it started with a catalogue from a prospect pool, and then seeing whether there was an affiliate involved, a bit of online display, a bit of search, and then maybe a bit of direct over viewing with just a web address being pumped into a browser. I'd love to be able to tell you the results of that, but I can't because we haven't done it yet.
Hello, I'm Lara from Toast. A question about your, you talked about acquisition, but about how you reward loyal customers. And have you got any strategy for people that have been with Boden for a long time?
We do try and give more generous offers to the more loyal customers, but the answer is, again, it's a moot point. We're looking at a card. It's always about to happen, and something else more important seems to get in its way. But the answer is, I think we could do better at it, actually. Club, I mean, the problem with all these things is that everybody else is doing them, and we need to come up with a more sort of pioneering way of rewarding people, and we haven't quite worked to that yet, but it's something I think we should do, and we don't.
Suzanne from Jules Clothing. We talked about international expansion and some challenges in the US.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about those?
In America, the consumer climate is very different in that the Americans were very, very, even more leveraged than we were. And we would go as a focus group, we would go into Americans' houses and you would see huge quantities of clothes still in their original wrapping, and they would buy one of every colour, and they just went even more bonkers than we did. And they've got a much more sort of puritanical psyche than we have, and they're much more they're much raw capitalist, the Americans. And so when the shockwave, when the Lehman's went bust, then they're all trading in shares, and they really noticed it and felt it in their guts. And so, and there's this new sort of mood in America. They take pride in saving and not buying anything. So there's been a really dramatic change in their behaviour. This has been compounded by the fact that we don't give a great service in the States. We have a warehouse there, but it doesn't hold all our stock, and we still are shipping from the UK, and so customers are getting a pretty unsatisfactory service. We've got great loyalty there, but if you buy 10 items, you might get about bad enough in the UK, but in America you might get loads of different parcels. On top of which, you've got a customs regime which is very protectionist. The Americans claim to be a free market, but actually the American customs are absolutely, they're a nightmare. And the rule book, and they throw the rule book. We've had endless problems on very, very technical issues. So do you remember the problem with the lead in children's toys? Well, they then applied this rule to buttons. We had to remake all our children's wear, take all the buttons off because they had 0.000% lead. Then they changed the rules again, so it actually doesn't matter. And there are a lot of barriers. It's a huge market. It's very exciting. You multiply everything here by 5 or 10, but there are a lot of pitfalls, and it's a sort of bit of a perfect storm at the moment where things are slowing down. We also, arguably, the novelty has worn off with our brand in the States. You get that tremendous flash of excitement when people haven't seen you, and now your stuff gets more widely seen, and it's a big challenge. But I think it's worth persevering because the prize is so enormous.
Andrew Ward, International Darts Prize. If you woke up tomorrow morning and realised Boden was an incredibly fantastic dream, but it was a dream, would you, after having a cappuccino, set it up and start up in the morning? What would be the one thing you would do differently, starting from scratch now?
Yes, I would. No hesitation. I think the first thing I'd do differently, but I thought you were going to ask a question, you didn't, is I would have hired. The big mistake I made in the early years was I did all the design myself, and I wasn't, I've got quite a good eye, but I'm not a designer, and I would have hired a really top designer right from the early days. The other thing I would have done was I would have hired Julian, my managing director. I would have recognised my own failings earlier about my nightmare management style, and I would have got somebody in straight away. And I do think that if you look at a lot of successful businesses, they always have two good people. That sounds I'm showing off, but you need a foil. Look at Hanson and White, and there are lots of other examples where you need, I think, having a really good person, a partner. I had a fantastic wife, but a sort of really top. I would have done that, and that would have saved a lot of. I had a lot of really dodgy people in the first years, and it was really painful. And a lot of the problems I had were caused by bad decisions by my so-called partners. And I think that those are the getting really good people and focusing even more on the product would have been a better thing to have done.
A light-hearted question to end, Mark from the Present Finder. My children often get asked, "Oh, are you going to take over Daddy's business?" And I think we've got two daughters, and I just wonder, three daughters. Sorry, I just wonder what their answer is when their friends ask them.
As I've said, I'm not a seller, and we will see. I mean, one of them has absolute interest at all, wants to be a vet or a doctor or something like that, or going to the army, rather bizarrely. My second daughter is quite interested, but I think it's very important not to make them, Philip Greenstyle, not to make them think they're going to inherit lots of money or, it's a very good question, and it's the next big question of my life, I think, what's going to happen. But I'm certainly there, bad luck, for another 20 years, I think. Thank you, Mark.
Johnny, I'd just like to say on behalf of everybody and from ECMOD, thank you for coming today.